Well, welcome everyone to today's Women's Network Australia virtual chat discussion with Annette Kaitinis of Boot Scoot. We're very, very excited to have Annette with us, not only because she's showing some awesome horsey videos in the background, but the topic of today's discussion is all about succession and succession planning. And Annette has recently gone and is in fact still going through the process of succession planning within Scoot Boot, within her company. So today we're going to just backtrack a little about how the company came into being and its background and the experiences that she's had with Scoot Boot, and then how this transition has taken place. She just shared with us that the company have spent the day doing their marketing planning. So she's all inspired with lots of great ideas, and I'm sure the team is too. So we won't push that and give any secrets away. But if you're not familiar with Scoot Boot, Annette will obviously tell us more, but an award-winning company. I understand one of the leading export companies now in Tasmania. And I was watching the Olympic equestrian team with interest, noting all the various footwear that the horses were wearing. I'm not sure if there were any Scoot Boot products there, but I guess I was unfamiliar with the whole footwear scene for horses until we became aware of Annette and the amazing company that she's built. So thanks for your time, Annette. Really looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks so much, Cheryl.
Let's start back at the beginning, where you actually weren't a businesswoman in the sense of building the company that you've built. How about you start by telling us a little bit about your background story and where it all began?
Yes, well, I've always been an equestrian, always had horses. And then when I graduated from uni with a law degree, I moved straight to Melbourne and I started practicing there. And so I ended up actually staying there for 20 years, practicing first of all as a commercial litigator, and then I went to the bar and practiced as a barrister. So after 20 years, I decided that I was going to come home, and I reconnected with my former farrier, because those were the days when I used to shoe my horse or my horses. And I wasn't practicing so much at that stage, and he was just in the process of trialing a new prototype, a new hoof boot. And so I reconnected with him. He put a business proposition to me, and I had always wanted to commercialize a product. I just didn't know where to start. And so I looked at this product, I looked at the industry, I looked at the barefoot movement with horses, and more people were taking their horses barefoot rather than the 2,000-year-old shoeing practice that a lot of people still do. And I thought that it would be something that I'd really, really be passionate about. And so I decided that I would switch professions, and I stopped practicing, and then I started setting up the legal infrastructure and the business infrastructure, registering, incorporating companies, and getting it ready to launch the product. Started production, and then we launched in 2014. And I then, I guess, pivoted towards just running a business, operating a business, and using the skills that I took with me from being in practice, in private practice, and later as a barrister, and applied those skills to my business, Scoot Boot.
So can we just, there's a lot in there I'd love to unpack. Firstly, for those who are unfamiliar with Scoot Boot and what it is, as opposed to the old
Sure.
metal shoe nailed into the horse's hoof. Scoot Boot, actually, you don't need that. You
Yes.
have an external, like
That's
wearing a shoe.
That's correct. So we say it's really Crocs for horses, or the Nike of the horse or hoof boot world. So shoeing a horse, they had to do that thousands of years ago because they didn't have any alternative, but we have an alternative now. So it's made from thermoplastic urethane. It's a very robust material because, of course, at least half a ton of horse is going to be using it. It's very robust. It lasts for about 1,000 Ks. So you just put it on at the start of your ride and then take it off once you're done. With shoeing a horse, horses have to wear the shoe 24/7. It's concussive. It compromises the whole integrity of the hoof structure. So there are a lot of consequences that flow from shoeing. It's very detrimental to the health of the horse, just not just the hoof, but skeletal and muscular. So there are a lot of consequences that flow or damage that flows from shoeing a horse. So we offer a healthy alternative, and that is the scoot boot. As I said, you put it on when you start your ride, you take it off. We also have boots that are used for rehabilitation when a horse is rehabbing from some type of hoof pathology. But it's an alternative, it's a healthy alternative, it's a cheaper alternative, and we're not just about selling a product, we're also passionate about the welfare of horses. So we're really helping the horses around the globe to actually live a more natural life. And I always say if you're going to domesticate a horse, you have to look after it. You have to keep it. You can't confine it. Or if you do, you have to be able to let it at least live a life, a domesticated life where it's going to be mentally happy and physically happy. So our boots go towards making that horse's life a lot healthier.
How much of that drove you to
Oh,
really develop this company? Was it, oh, this is a natty idea and a product that I think
yeah.
could really take off, or it was that sort of health and well-being for the animal?
Yeah, it was both. I did want to take a product to market and commercialize it, but when Scoot Boot came along and the idea came along, and my former farrier Dave McDonald put forward this business proposition, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be launching this product that is going to help so many horses around the world. So it became more of a yes, it was a business, and it is a business whereby we're making a profit, but that's kind of secondary to what I'm doing right now, and that is if I can get one horse out of shoes and into our boots or into being barefoot, then I feel like I've achieved my objective. So it's become more about being passionate about the welfare of horses, and I always have, but this is where I can really make a difference in the world. And a lot of people say, well, why are you working so hard? You don't need to at this, because I'm on the downward trajectory in my career. And I say, well, I don't. I'm getting up every day and I'm so excited about helping horses around the globe to live better lives. So welfare is paramount to what Scoot Boot does, not just me, but to the team as well.
So you started obviously with a prototype, with an idea. Can you just talk us through the journey from that to where you are now, and
Yeah.
perhaps some of the challenges that you had to deal with along the way?
Oh, lots of challenges. So we went global the day we launched, so we weren't prepared to start exporting. We really were ill-equipped. I actually thought that, with my researching skills, I thought that I was ready to go. So not ready
And
to
then
go.
suddenly you had orders and you didn't know what to do
Yeah.
with them?
Yeah, and then we had a recall right at the outset as well, a product recall, which didn't make it very easy for us right at the start. But there were a lot of lessons learnt. It was very challenging, and I really, if I had have had a mentor, and if you can take one thing away from this session, and that is if you are in the startup phase, or wanting to commercialize a product, or ready to start, get a mentor on board and really align yourself with other people who have been there, done that, because I made a lot of costly mistakes along the way, and I was too busy trying to get everything done rather than see who's out there who could actually help me along the way and hold my hand. So it's really, really useful to be able to do that right at the outset. And I think I would have made less mistakes had I actually reached out and got some help. And also, for example, the this networking association. Um, any type of networking association that you can be involved with, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs in those groups that can help.
Mm. How did your skills as a barrister, your legal skills, transfer to basically starting a startup, being an entrepreneur, and then growing a company, an export company?
I think with my skills or my skill sets, we at being legally trained, we're taught to research. We're taught, and also being a litigator, I was always putting out fires for my clients. And so I was making sure that I didn't have to put out any for myself. So I was very risk averse. So I put everything in place, especially all the legal infrastructure in place right at the outset, to make sure that I didn't have any, I guess, problems or legal problems or anything of that nature right at the start failing me. But I think the skills that I brought, it was really being risk adverse and researching and making sure that I've got all the legal documents in place and making sure that, I mean, I've spent a whole lifetime in debt recovery. I certainly didn't want to do that in my own business. So it's an e-commerce business. We're a pure player. The money is in our bank account before we dispatch. So I put all of these processes into place to make sure that I didn't have to put out any of those fires that I had done previously for my previous clients. So it really, and I do a lot of legal work. I mean, we have our legal advisors, but I do a lot of legal work in the business. I draft my own contracts, distribution contracts, and terms of trade and other policies as well, because by the time I brief someone, another lawyer, to draft that document, I could have drafted it myself. And it's a work in progress as well, because as the business expands and grows, those documents are added. I add to those documents. So it's a lot of the legal work I do in-house. My sister, who also works in the business, in the management team, she's also a lawyer. So we both work together quite closely. And, they say two heads are better than one. So we do a lot of that work that keeps us, keeps the business ticking along and making sure we don't get into any trouble.
So how about as obviously the company grew, the team needed to grow, how did you manage the growth of the team in terms of your role, what roles you
Yeah.
needed, and you mentioned, the importance of having a mentor in the absence of that, and often we find, and I know we've got Eve Nelson on here, often we find a lack of availability of HR support and advice for small businesses, so you kind of just get people who seem right and roles sort of evolve. How did you manage that process?
Look, it was all organic and it grew very slowly, really. So it really started out with Dave McDonald, my business partner, myself, and I grabbed my nephew who was fresh out of uni. He had a commerce degree. So there was really only the three of us, and it was the three of us for like the first year. So I didn't have any of those issues in growing a team because we had no team. It was just
Jack
us
of all
three.
trades.
Yeah, and I worked, those were the days when I worked 24, well, I didn't work 24/7, but I worked 7 days a week and long hours. But then I brought my sister on, and then the team started growing from there. And then I brought on a marketing coordinator, and then I brought on someone from an HR background, and then she started the process of getting more people in. So it was very organic. We whatever profits we made, we put straight back into the business. So we were able to, self-funded. We don't have any other funders, outside funders, and so it just grew organically. And so the team grew slowly, and where, I mean, I can fast forward to now if you like, but we're now very strategic with that team and who, and this year we've gone on a really big recruitment drive to get the right people in. But back then it was just, I just grabbed whoever I could and put them in roles and just ran with it and hoped for the best. So it really, I wasn't that strategic back then, although getting back to the skill set that I brought into the business, that was a skill set that I brought in, being strategic, but I just didn't have the enough, funding behind me to be able to get that team right at the outset.
When you first started the business, did you have a plan? Did you have by year 5 will be
Yeah,
this, by year 10 will be this? Can you
we
just
had
talk
a
us
we
through
had a
what
3-year we had a 3-year business plan,
Mhm.
and that plan was pretty spot on by the time year 3 was up. But look, it's been, we've grown very organically. We haven't had a lot of outside help. Can I just fast forward? Like, I started in my backyard, a shed in my backyard, and after a couple of years, we grew and we built a purpose-built warehouse and moved into that. But if I could fast forward from when we started in 2014 to now, it's all very, very, very organized and structured. We have a board of directors in place. We have shareholders now, because my business partner has sold some of his shares. So it's all very structured. We have our dedicated teams in different areas. And so the business that I have now is just on the other end of the spectrum compared to how it was. I really winged it for quite a few years. I really did. And I was lucky, we were lucky, my business partner and I were lucky because we had a product that everyone loved. And as soon as it got out there, everyone started talking about it. And we were able to really not apply a lot of marketing spend. Well, we didn't have that much anyway, but once it got out there, people started talking and the product spoke for itself, and that's how we were able to grow.
Mm, mm. So let's fast forward to this year. What was happening in your mind about where you were starting the year and where you wanted to leave
Yeah.
this year?
Yeah, okay. So I've been working really hard, as most founders do, entrepreneurs, and I realized that as an entrepreneur, and a former lawyer, I really didn't have the skill sets to take it into growth. We'd just gone out of startup stage and we were heading into growth. And I'm kind of on the downward trajectory in my career, and I wasn't on the up. And if I was, I probably would have spent a lot of time researching new skills to be able to take this business into growth. And at that stage too, last year we brought on a board, we appointed a board, and we had new shareholders in place. So there were a lot of expectations for me to get this business to where they wanted it to be. And I could just foresee that it was going to be another hard slog. I could also see that I was going to have to get myself skilled up. And a lot of entrepreneurs, take huge risks, but they don't have the skill sets to go beyond actually launching the product and then entering into growth stage. And I knew that I would probably not meet those expectations that everyone had of me. So I thought, I think this is a really good time. And I had wanted at some stage to hand over the reins to someone else. And I thought, I think this is a really good time because I just don't think I have the appetite to be able to take this where they want it to go and where I want it to go as well.
That's
So
a
I
really
realized,
big self-realization, though.
yeah, it
That must
was.
have been a very difficult personal conversation to have with yourself.
I did have it with myself, and I had it with my sister as well, because she was kind of at the same stage as me. So we talked about it a lot. We talked about it for about 6 months, and then we decided, yep, we thought about it and discussed it at length, really ad nauseum, ad infinitum, it seemed. But we
Over
spoke,
many glasses of wine.
yeah, and lots of walks along the beach, which is where we do our best work. But I then decided, okay, I'm going to speak to the board. So I spoke to the chairman of the board, and I said, look, this is what I want to do. And so then I had discussions with the board, and we both did. And because she was looking after the financial side of the business, along with our former accountants were Brian accountants in Melbourne, and then we moved to BDO here in Hobart. But we realised that we needed, because the business was growing so much, we really needed to get an in-house accountant in. So she got an in-house accountant in, and then I then decided that, in conjunction with the board, that we would start looking for another CEO. But then I realised that I had one staring in my face, and that was Cheryl Gray, and not you.
There's Cheryl Gray. There's two of us. It's my
There's
doppelganger.
two of you. So Cheryl Gray was our head of marketing, and we had appointed her approximately a year prior to when I started thinking about this succession. And I just thought that she would be a perfect fit for the role. And so I spoke to the board, and then I spoke to Cheryl to get an indication of what she might have wanted to do. And that was all positive. And then so she went through a rigorous process with the board as well. And so that was how that transition took place. But it's not that easy with other businesses. I was very lucky because I had someone who could transition straight into the role. We didn't have to go out and recruit, which I think I would have found quite difficult. I was very lucky I didn't have to go through that process because Cheryl was already ensconced in the business. She was doing a great job. She knew the product. She knew our market. She knew she was, a great fit for the team, and it was seamless. And the process of actually having her appointed. So I felt very lucky indeed that my plan actually fell into place so quickly. And I know that others probably.
Qualities in particular that you saw in Cheryl that you thought we don't need to look elsewhere? I mean, obviously, yes, she knew the product because she was there and she was part
Yeah,
of the company. Were there
yeah.
specific leadership qualities or other qualities that
Yeah.
you were looking for and you knew you had them there?
Yeah, I needed someone who had a lot of empathy. I needed someone who was collaborative, who was passionate, who was a good leader, and that was particularly important because with my leadership, I was very inclusive. I recognised the talent that my team had, and I brought them to the table and let them shine with that talent. And I was very, I want people to come, not because they have to, although, we have to work, but I want people to come to work and enjoy themselves, but also at the same time work hard. And I wanted to make sure that, it wasn't a grind for people. People enjoyed what they were doing, and I wanted them to be passionate, and I wanted them to be, have a collaborative team and be innovative and add, their little bit, bring what they had to the table as well. And she was very much like that, and that was very important for me. I didn't want someone coming in who was going to be, I can't think of the word that I want, but I wanted someone who was really going to be easy to work with.
Mhm.
And Cheryl is great. She's just such a fantastic. We were so lucky to get her, and I couldn't have wanted anyone. I couldn't have found anyone better. I don't think. She's just an.
I'm just going to pause there and invite those who are with us today, if you do have any questions, to pop them in the chat box if you feel comfortable. Obviously, we'll have time at the end to explore more questions in detail, so you're welcome to hang on to the end or pop your questions in the chat. What was plan B? What if she had said no?
Plan B would have made us go out and recruit.
Mm-hmm.
And, uh, trying to recruit someone in Tasmania is pretty difficult because there's only 500,000 of us down here or on the whole island. So we probably would have had to have recruited from the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like to try, I know Cheryl didn't come from an equine background, but I probably wouldn't have found anyone from an equine background. And I think it's really important to at least have passion for the equine movement and the welfare movement and really be aligned with our values and our vision and really share that passion with me, because I'm so passionate, just not about the product, but about horses in general. So I would have needed to find a suitable CEO that had all those values. So I think it would have been a really tough gig to get out there and try and find someone. And that process would have taken some time,
Mm.
probably the best part of a year, maybe. And so I just, again, feel so lucky that I had someone right there that could just slot straight in. Um, but now she's like doing an amazing job as CEO, but I don't think she can transition well out of marketing because she's still very much involved. Although, to be fair to her, we've only just recently appointed a marketing manager. So
Donna Duggan asked the question or makes the comment, and it was certainly on my mind too. The really hard decision that Donna has identified is relinquishing control, like giving up your firstborn. What was the chat that you had with yourself to understand or accept that now was the right time, and
yeah.
you literally it was okay to hand over the reins? And is it also about identifying your future role, because it's not like you're not still part of the company? There is a transition.
Yes.
What does that look like?
Well, I just knew at the time that it was ready, that I was ready to go. So I think if you're having second thoughts or you're doubting whether this is something that you need to do, then you're probably not quite ready to go. But I was really ready to go. I've spent, like my life is consumed with Scoot Boot. It really is. And I just knew there were other things out there in life, like, getting on my horse and riding and spending days out on trails and going to the beach. And so I knew that I was really ready to go. It wasn't that there was no doubt in my mind that that's what I wanted to do. So if you have those doubts and you're hesitant, then it's probably not quite the right time. That's what I would. That's my, if I could impart some advice as to timing.
Hmm.
Um,
And did you see that it was like, okay, I'm gonna walk out the door on a Friday and I'm not gonna run this company anymore. I'm gonna go and do those other things? Or is it a slightly slower step back?
Well, the appointment was only from the end of the financial year.
Hmm.
So we haven't been long in our respective roles, but I've been away overseas. I've just got back.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been busy at work over there, over in the States, and I've only just come back, and it's been like really hectic since I've been back. So I actually am going part-time as well. So because I've got all this leave accrued. So I'm actually going to start taking one day off a week. So ask me that question maybe in another. I know I'm off to Europe in a couple of weeks too. So maybe ask that to me when I come back from Europe, that where I'll be able to actually really feel the benefits of slowing down and just letting. I do feel the benefits now because I don't have to make all those decisions. So
Mm-hmm.
I had decision fatigue every day, but I don't have to make those decisions now. So I'm feeling the benefits there, but I'm still working quite hard right now. But yeah, it's the stress has been taken away. So I don't have as much stress, which is great. I'm not sure whether I've answered the question because there
No,
are
no,
a number of
you have.
questions
Yeah,
rolled up.
no, I also want to know what happens if a decision's made that you don't agree with. How do you deal with that?
Well, there was one decision that was made not long ago, and I didn't entirely agree with it, and I wouldn't have proceeded with it. But I thought I cannot undermine what Cheryl is doing. She's doing a fabulous job, and I've just got to let her do it. And I know, and I don't think there'll be too many times when that will happen because she's so good at what she does and she's very collaborative. And if she was perhaps second guessing whether that's a good decision to implement or execute, she might, and if she was hesitant, she would probably come to me anyway. So I just have to let her do it. I have to let her run with it, and she's got a great team that supports her, and I know and we've got a great management team as well, and so I know that what she's doing is going to be supported by the management team. So I have 100% confidence with her making those right decisions. And if I think they might not be quite right, I'm just going to let her roll with it because I've just got to butt out and just do what I'm, appointed to do now. And look,
How
I
do
don't
you
think she's
feel?
going to make any big mistakes at all. She's just so confident and so good at what she does.
But do you see yourself in that mentor role that, you said earlier, if you, in hindsight, perhaps, had to worked more closely with a mentor, then perhaps things might, some of those challenges mightn't have
For sure.
hit in the same way. Is that a role that you see taking on?
Absolutely, and I often speak at functions and at various events, and I always and a lot of the attendees are new business owners, and I always say, if you need any help, I'm always there. I'm always there to help and try and advise. I mean, I'm still learning every day. There's so much that I need to learn, and I'm actually learning a lot from Cheryl and also from the board, who come with a wealth of experience. So, but I can impart what I know, and I can help those young business owners who are, starting up and falling into the errors that I feel in. So I'd love to mentor more and help others who are on the same journey that I've been on.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point for all of us to be thinking about succession planning. And I know we've had sessions before and quite recently where it's if you're starting a business, you should be thinking about how it's going to end or what that succession point is. But that's easy to say. It's a harder thing to do. Do you do you imagine that this sort of whole circle will lead you to maybe start another business?
No, a categorical no. I'm so busy with this business, but if I was younger, for sure. But look, this business excites me so much, and I wouldn't want to do anything else really. We will bring on new product lines. I want to move into writing apparel, which I'm very interested in doing, and other products which will help horses. So it's not something that is on my radar at all. I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and I'm happy being the face of Scoot Boot. I have to travel quite a bit and maintain those relationships with a lot of our stockists, and also look at new markets that we want to enter into. So we've only just started. We haven't even like begun our journey yet in relation to getting out there. We've just entered into growth stage, so there's a lot of stuff that I need to do now in this new role as brand ambassador, and I'm really looking forward to the challenge. It's just all the stuff that I love doing, and I've given all the stuff that I hate doing over to Cheryl.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, I know, it doesn't get much better than that.
Natasha's asked a question. I think it's
Yeah,
harder for a sole trader. I have a successful business, but it's just me offering a personal service as a marriage celebrant. So not sure
yeah.
how I would move into another role that I had a passion for. Any advice?
Oh, moving into another role that you had a passion for. Look, this is what gets me up every day, because I love this business, and you need to be passionate in order to have that drive and work hard every day. You need to be passionate about what you're doing, and so I think, to impart a little bit of advice there, maybe if she's not happy as a sole trader, and it's very difficult because it's just her and she can't really scale, but look around, see what might make her get up every day out of bed, and be really excited to start the day. I think, I think you really need to have that passion behind you to be able to just really do well in your business. You need that passion, you need that drive, you need that excitement, you need a real reason to get up and just get started.
Mm,
And that's what's kept me given me that drive for the last 9 years.
mm. I might open it up to those who are online with us today. I know Donna Duggan has a business where there's a lot of hands-on work, but also growing international markets as well. Donna, I'm wondering if you can see some parallels with Annette's journey and your personal one.
Hi everyone. Um, yes, especially especially when you have, created the product, or you've created the experience, for those first stages, really it's all on you, because not only is it the product that is, out for critique, but it's also you as a person. And when you're standing behind something and you want to make it, the best that you can possibly make it, you put your heart and soul into it. And that's why I was mentioning, it's hard to give up control, and it's like your firstborn child. But yeah, the struggle is real.
Yeah,
And yeah, and living and breathing, everything that the companies, the highs and the lows,
yes,
and also what Annette was saying, um, so much of the important stuff is building those relationships and maintaining those relationships, as well as making sure your product or your experience is, the best that you can make it. We've started with zero, and built up this, safari company with accommodations and product in Africa. And yeah, it's that next step of, handing over the reins, which it's like you said, I'm not ready just yet, so I'm glad you picked
yes,
up on that. But I'm certainly getting to that stage where, it's in, I sleep, and I swear that I dream it, so I feel like I'm ready to, jump. I'm ready to jump, but maybe not for, 5
yeah.
years, or I don't
You,
know. I don't know a time scale, and I think
you,
that's why it's still a question mark.
yeah, you'll know when you're ready. Because
Yeah.
I knew, I mean, of course, I'd been thinking about succession for quite a few years, but I wasn't ready. But I was
Yes.
thinking about it, but I was ready when I had made that decision.
Yes.
I was 100%, um, um, had made up my mind that that's what I wanted to do. So it sounds like you've got a little bit more safaring to do, and
Yeah.
get out
Yeah.
there on
Yeah. And
more
that's
safari.
okay. And I love your transition from CEO to brand ambassador. I think if you go from, 100 back to zero in one step, the ethics, your work ethics, is never going to be satisfied. I think it's that slow process of, going out of the wing slowly. And I think for me, that's what I've always thought as well, that I'd sort of, not keep on top, but I'd move to the side a little bit and watch from the wings. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
so that was good.
Yeah, and you can still like make sure that everything's going okay. I mean, for me, I'm a major shareholder, and I'm also now a member of the board. So I
Oh, good.
still have a big say in how this business is, in what direction this business goes. So it's not like as if I've lost control. I have I have the control. It's just that someone's steering the business for me, and I've decided to be a passenger. Really, I guess that's a good way of putting it. And I'll grab the wheel if something happens.
Yeah.
Eve Nelson, we have you online, and I know you're listening intently, and I'm imagining there's a few things going through your mind, particularly in terms of the growth, the team building, the recruitment, the hiring. Did you have any questions or observations?
Quite a few. Thank you, Cheryl, for bringing me in. Hey, Annette, good to see
Hi,
you.
Eve.
Look, do you know what? I do have one question, and I don't know if you can answer it, but how do you think the board takes to having you remain so close and still sitting on the team?
Yeah, so the board actually I think the board wanted me to be a member of the board. I think that was, I think because I have that equine background and I have that knowledge, and I wasn't just the CEO. Like Dave McDonald, my former business partner, who was the creator and designer of Scoop Boots, we work quite closely with product development. I mean, he's the designer and the brains behind the creation of the products that we sell, but I still work with him on that. And I also do a lot of product testing, initial product testing, before it goes out there into the world for our other product testers to trial. But because I was the co-founder and I lived and breathed this business, there was a lot of IP in my head that is quite it's you know I have a lot of experience. Sorry, I almost lost my laptop. About this business, so I think maybe they thought that would be that was crucial to remain part of the board, and you know we all work very well together. You know, there's not too many disagreements. We very cohesive, and we have, you know, good sessions and have good strategies in place to really have fruitful discussions about the business and what we need to do. So yeah, just kind of all fell into place, really.
Nice. I'd be really interested to hear how, given that you are passionate about your staff, and I do know that firsthand, that you do make sure you get the right people in. How did you take them along on this ride for you to transition out, but also make sure that they didn't sort of jump ship and get a bit worried
Yeah,
about
that's a really good question. Really good question, because at the time when I made the announcement that I was going to be stepping down, of course, all the uncertainty within the team caused a little bit of, uncertainty. And they were concerned about what it was going to look like after I stepped down. Were things going to be the same? Was it going to be a whole lot different? So, of course, you're going to have those concerns with a new leader in your business. And so I wanted to make sure that I imparted to them sufficient information for them to feel comfortable with that transition and not be apprehensive or not be concerned or not want to jump ship and go somewhere else. And so we're just going through that now. And also at the same time, we've had other big changes. We've had new people to the team. We went on a really big recruitment this year. We also increased our warehouse space. So we're moving into different spaces as well. So we've got two offices, but in the warehouse, but in two different areas. So there was a lot of change this year. So I really just had to not placate them at all, but I had to just make sure that they were comfortable with the decision and that there weren't going to be major changes. It was going to be business as usual, and it was still going to be that fun place, hardworking place, but fun place at the same time. And what Cheryl is doing is she's implementing a lot of really good stuff that I hadn't done, really good stuff that's going to make it, you know, an even better place to work. So you know, she's going to be doing some great things. So I think the team's going to love her. So.
Yeah. All good. If I may, just one more question, Cheryl, if that's all right.
Yep.
Anything you'd do differently, Annette, in this process?
In the succession process?
Yeah.
No, I'm happy with the way things have gone. I wouldn't have done anything different at all. I have to say that it's been quite seamless, and I'm really happy with the way the transition has been made. I'm happy with the board was in agreement with appointing Cheryl after their processes, the stringent processes they put her through. And it couldn't have gone any better for me. And hopefully the team is cohesive now, because there, as I said, there was uncertainty. So hopefully they've relaxed and they're feeling a bit more confident in that transition as well. So, you know, all in all, it worked out well, and I don't think I'd do it any way differently. So I'm happy with how it went through.
And all I can say is congratulations.
Thanks so much, Eve. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Eve. It's like being the co-host here. I'm loving it. Beck, you had a question.
Yeah, I'd love to know, Annette, obviously Scoot Boot has had some immense success, and you as CEO, you know, Telstra Business Awards and things like that are very hard to come by, and a lot of work goes into them. I guess I'm keen to know, as you take that step back, how does that feel for you, you know, from the highs of success and the kind of adrenaline and motivation that brings? Like, what do you see the next phase being, and how do you think you'll come by those highs?
In relation to awards?
Or anything, and just, you know, I guess those, a lot of people see those awards as, you know, the testament to success, which isn't how everyone views it.
Yeah.
So
I think your question is more along the lines of, I'm no longer CEO, so I can't take all the accolades for the business doing really well. Look, you know, I'm fine with all of that. I really am. You know, we've been really successful with awards along the way. We've won the Tasmanian Export Award, E-commerce Export Award 5 times. We won the Australian Export E-commerce Award. We've won the State Telstra Business of the Year Award. We won the National Emerging and Energised Award. And so I feel like I've won my fair share of awards. And look, the high that you get from winning these awards is I can't articulate just how it feels. It's so euphoric. So Cheryl can take over, and she can get all the accolades now for, you know, if we are lucky enough to win more awards, then it's her turn to shine. But it's not just Cheryl, it's the whole team. We can't win these awards unless we have a fabulous team behind us. And our team is, you know, they are so good. And I feel so blessed to have this team where we can succeed and win all these awards that we enter, and I don't just enter these awards for the accolades. I enter these awards because it elevates our business. We're more marketable. We're taken as a real exporting business. We're not just a little business here in Tassie that sells scoot boots. And it's the networking that we do along the way. We meet the most amazing people and the most amazing businesses. So there are a whole host of reasons why we enter these awards. But you know, Cheryl will Cheryl and the team will be there hopefully for more awards if they come our way in the future.
I'm sure they will. And I'm glad you went there, Annette, on the other reasons you enter the awards, because I know we, you know, often at the start of the year look at the list of all the different types of business awards and think, wow, I'd love to enter that. I think I'd be great at it. But the time and energy that it can take to enter those awards is often overwhelming for people. But I think you're right. It's important to know that often these awards, particularly the, I guess, more structured ones, really provide so much more to you than just I won an award. They really provide some
It does.
credibility.
It does provide credibility, but also it's a form of due diligence that you do on your business, because it's quite a stringent process, and you can see what you've done last year and you've improved on this year, and you go, wow, you've done so much in the last 12 months, and what you didn't do last year you've actually implemented and executed this year. So it's a form of due diligence for me, and it's making sure that we are on track and implementing and executing exactly what needs to be done. So that's another reason why we enter these awards, and it is a very stringent process and it's very time consuming, but it also helps us to stay on track and make sure that we have completed what we set out to do, the 12 months prior, when we said that that's what we plan to do. So yeah,
I might just invite any final questions from anyone who's online with us. And while anyone's thinking about that, I'm then going to ask you, Annette, to just leave us with three, I guess, lessons that you might offer business owners about succession planning. Does anyone have any final questions before Annette gives us her 3 top pieces of advice? All good? Annette, what do we need to know?
Well, I think you definitely need to have a plan, and you need to make sure that that plan is going to be implemented and executed well, because of course we all know what happens when it's not executed. You're going to fail. So you've got to be very careful with what you intend to do and how you're going to execute that plan. Also, you need to make sure that you've got that team. You're surrounded by a really good team, because it's no use transitioning and appointing another CEO, and then that possibly might not be 100% successful, and the team isn't going to be supportive of that CEO. You've got to make sure that you have a team that's really passionate and really focused on getting and supporting a new CEO. But that's all part of your plan and implementing your plan. And I think I said earlier on, another piece of advice is make sure you're 100% ready to go, because if you do have a hesitation about leaving the role, then you shouldn't really go. You need to make sure that it's the right time and you 100% ready to give up that CEO title, because I suppose you could always get it back, but there's going to be a lot of disruption in the business if that happens. So I think, you've got to be ready, got to be focused on that's the process that you want to do, and get your plan in place. And I think that's really the only advice I can give. I mean, it's early days yet, but it's working out well, and I'm really happy where I am, and it's exciting times.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that journey with us today. It's an important journey, almost as important as starting a business is actually how you leave the business. So thank you for those insights that you've given us. Just a reminder, I'm not the Cheryl Gray that Annette was referring to. It's a completely different person, and we often have fun online, and sometimes through these virtual chats when we both appear and we see our names popping up on screen. So wish the other Cheryl Gray all the very best success in the new role, and you in your new role as Boot Scoot Ambassador.
Thank you. And it's even spelt the same, G-R-A-Y
It is.
too.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cheryl. I'm really, as I said, really excited to see where we go to. There's going to be a lot of now that we've entered into this growth stage and we've got more bandwidth, to use Cheryl Gray's term, more people on board, we're really going to hit those markets where we've barely penetrated, and really going to scale up. So I'm really excited to see where we go.
Fabulous. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to you joining us again for another interesting conversation with another amazing woman in business.
Thank you.